So this weekend only, they're doing something a bit different. So they're doing synergies. So this has been talked about for quite a while, around synergies, buffing bots, creating bots that pair up together and do whatever. So I like the idea when it sort of came about. I was like, you can really breathe some fresh air into this and create some people chasing new bots, which I'm all for. So good idea. So the idea is that certain things will grant you certain things. Certain bots together will cert you certain criteria. So the idea behind this one is tank. So he sort of chose some tanky bots. So for me, when I saw Elite 1, I was like, and Cheetor, I'm like, tanks? It didn't make any sense for me. I mean, Cheetor and Elite 1 as tanks. I would not say they're tanky. I think that the bots with shields that rush in, they're sort of tanks. But I understand Dale didn't want to choose Pipes and Ironhide and bots that are already quite OP in the meta. So I understand the need for picking Dinobot and Grimlock and Hotspot and Nosecon's quite good actually, and even Rookies. But Sludge, Dinobot, Grimlock, Hotspot, all for this completely. Really good idea. So for tanks, you gain additional 15% max health per bot. So if you've got just Dinobot, it's just nothing. So if you have two, then you get, I think it's 30%. So 20% for two. Why say plus 15% per max health per bot? Versus 20, but anyway, 20% for 2, 30% for 3, 40 for 4, 55, 6 for 6, so on, so on. So if you were to run all these 8 bots in a team, you would get 80% more max health, I think. Yeah, it kind of needs clearing up a bit, because it says 15% max health, but I think it's 10, because it's 20, 30, 40, 50, so I presume it's 80% max health, so you get a health boost for using all them 8. I think using all 8 is a bit unrealistic, but you get the idea. Assassin. So for me, when I think of Assassin, I would think of bots that do a lot of damage. High damage. So you've got to think that they're not going to put in quite OP bots like Smokescreen, like Sea Spray, like Warpath. But I imagine it would be high damage bots. But usually high damage bots are the ones that are quite in the meta. So I'm not too sure about that. But you would gain additional 10% DPS per bot. So again, for 2 is 20, 3 for 30, 4 for 40, etc, etc. So you've got Brawn, Drift, Goldfire, Cup, Laser Optimus, Sandstorm, Senses Magnus, Skyburst, / Starsaber, and their Decepticon counterparts, which you can also see them. I'll go through Decepticons. I don't like cons. I do, I'm joking. But you get the idea. But my one big criticism of this up to now is that I said to Dale that it was probably a good opportunity to link some of these up. So for me, Brawn and Air Raid work really well together, but they're on different parts, different synergies. So bots that synergy in the game and work well together, we've separated. So, I imagine Starsaber and Goldfire would probably work together, but they're quite expensive. So I'm not too sure they are going to work together, maybe. But I don't know. I just think there's better pairings. If you're going to use Cup and Springer, if you're going to use Brawn and Air Raid, Sentius and Rotorstorm, you're going to sort of pair bots up. Then even if it's not real meta bots, then pair them up with something that's going to work. Even if it's Brawn and Bumblebee even. But I just don't see anything there where Brawn can pick up. I mean, he can pick up with Laser Optimus, but it gets quite expensive because Laser Optimus also hits like 4 different targets. You're not going to go boom, boom, boom and hit Brawn for all 4. It's just a big waste of points. You can use Laser Optimus twice for what you're going to use Brawn. So the idea of Brawn is using it at range. Laser Optimus is quite close range. Starsaber's too expensive to pair with Brawn. So they just don't synergize with each other, if that makes sense. And I get trying to avoid meta bots, but it's still better bots. Then if we go to the next one, we've got support. So again, 10% lifesteal. So you've got Aerial, Blaster, Hoffer, Ratchet, Red Alert, and Wheeljack. So again, I just think that you could have put Gnaw in there with Blaster maybe, and have that lifesteal of minions and make it like a minion team. Put Broadside in there as well. Have Broadside, Blaster, and Gnaw in the same class of support. And have like minions. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to call it support, but You get what I'm saying? Have bots that work well together in a team, put them in that team, and give them a buff for putting them. So I always said, like, I would like to run a minion team or an electric team or different teams. And I think this could have been really good. And I think it's a great idea. I think the Dale's put a lot of work into this, so I am quite pleased and appreciative of the work he's put in. And it's great that he's brought us to the game, something fresh, something new that he's trying. He's making baby steps with it, not pushing it right into the game and breaking the game. He's ticked all the boxes, just apart from the groupings. The groupings need to be better, that's all. That's my only criticism of this, is the groupings. So there again, we've got Bumblebee in here as a scavenger. But why not Brawn? Scavengers surely should be all the scouts. Surely. I would not classify Twin Twist as a scavenger. Give them 10% attack speed. I don't know. I just think there's really poorly chosen bots. I mean, you've got Smokescreen in it. I think Smokescreen is quite a meta bot, but he's in here as a scavenger. But he's a cleanup bot, so I'd put Smokescreen with an expensive bot. I would put him in with Star Saber or Goldfire to clear up and give them that bonus, and that would maybe work. But not with Sunstreaker, Twin Twist, Hound, and Firefly. That makes sense to me. And then you've got Air Raid in there, you've got Rotor Storm in there. So all these bots I'm sort of talking about, are in there already. Just group differently. Why not put Rotor Storm with Sentius? Why not put Air Raid with Brawn? I don't know. Slingshot and Acid Storm, put them with Goldfire maybe, so you got the Acid and Fire, and I have an Acid and Fire team. Just think it makes more sense for me. 10% ability damage for Air Raid. Brainstorm, they're already quite meta bot. I don't think you really need to. 6 gun, or just more damage than what he needs to. Swoop and Scourge, they don't really use an attack, it's so expensive. So the ability damage only really applies to Rotor Storm and Slingshot, really, because the rest of them do enough damage already, pretty much. 10% not going to make a massive difference. Air Raid is not going to then kill the MDS. Brainstorm isn't either. Rotor Storm's not really considered a meta bot, so 10% is not going to make him hugely OP. But 10% ability damage for Rotor Storm and making that 20, 30, 40, putting Rotor Storm with Sentius and Laser Optimus. Imagine having Laser Optimus and Rotor Storm and Sentius on the same team doing 30% more damage. You know what? I would be really interested to try that out. Really interested. I would literally go into this weekend going, I am trying that. 100% trying that. But, nah. And you got Battle Masters. So you've probably seen there that Alita's shown up twice now. So Alita's in 2 different compartments. So you gain 5% DPS, 5% attack speed, 5% health per bot on the battlefield. So I'm surprised Hot Rod's in there as well. Really good OP bot. And Optimus and T2 Megatron are 2 of the best bots in the game right now. Top 5, definitely. Maybe the best. Used by loads of top players. So really surprised to see it in here because it's so widely used. How they got mixed up with Optimus Primal? I don't know, maybe. But, surprises in there. Put pair or 2 to get the Battle Master buff. Where you get 10% attack speed, 10% health, or 15 off, so on, so on. That's crazy for some of these bots. Then class changes. Warriors now attract defenses automatically at the start of the battle. If they're placed later on in the battle, defenses will refocus to them. That would be interesting. I wonder if that would really work. Being able to put your bots down and then put a warrior at the side, and all then will target the warrior at the other side. Could add a different aspect into it, because I've always said to Dale that taunts don't work because they just target the nearest bot regardless, and the taunt might last a few seconds and then they retarget again. If it's a constant taunt, then maybe. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Then you got special melee, where they all pass the game by Cronus, level 20 G metal, and this heals them every 10 seconds. So you got to think that includes Elita again. So Alita's in a lot of classes here. She's got a lot of things going for, a lot of synergies. Do we have certain bots that are really underutilized and go, right, okay, listen, you can use all these bots that have a synergy maybe, but this one bot synergies with four, say. Let's put Cliff Jumper synergizes with three or four of them because he's considered quite poor. And all of a sudden you're like, well, he needs to be a focus point. I need to have Cliff Jumper in my team. Although him on his own is not a good bot, he makes all these other bots better in some way. So, I think there's a good idea to put lesser used bots in more of these synergies eventually. And I guess it's just testing for now. But yeah. But yeah, I think that my main criticism is just the groupings. And some people have gone, well, why don't you do all the Dinobots? Why don't you do all these? And I think the one problem with that is that when we look at combiners and things like that, is that certain combiners don't have the same bots in them. So, for example, you could go, let's put all the Dinobots together. That's a common one that we say. Let's put all the Dinobots together. But then you've got Scourge, who's not part of a combiner. Then you've got Razorclaw, who is. Then you've got Straxus, who isn't, I think. Then you've got Ripper Snapper, that's a part of Abominus. I think it is. You get where I'm going. They've all got different combiners. So then, if you do the Decepticon combiners, there's going to be different Autobots. So, but you can't separate them because they're the same bot as such. I think that's the reason behind it. So you need to find a collection of bots which is the same for the Autobots as it is for Decepticons, which is quite difficult. I tried looking into I thought, oh, G1 bots, original G1 bots. But then Brawn goes in there, but Full Tilt can't go in there. So Brawn can't go in there. Jazz and Mixmaster can. Ironhide can. Bludgeon can. When I say original G1, I mean like the first episode. Sunstreaker can. Swindle can. So there's a lot of exceptions to the rule. There's not as many as you think. And so that's a bit of a problem in doing it that way. And I think that's what people want, but not sure it's possible. But they can be definitely grouped together better. And someone's made a good point that when you do this, you've got to remember the bots that keep switching back. When you go and play Marvel Strike Force, and it goes, oh, you're going to pair Spider-Verse together. You can generally think, oh, I know which ones are in the Spider-Man universe. X-Men, I know which ones are X-Men. So it'd be better if you could do the Dinobots, and you could do other combiners, or it was just combiner bots generally, just 8 combiner bots. They might have their own different combiners. I'm not too sure how it would work. But I think that's the main stumbling block. I think if they could do that, I think they've hit the jackpot. If they can separate the bots of bots and cons, and have bots have some things, some 6s, or whatever, some 4s, 5s, 6s, cons have a different 6, and I think the cons would be happy with that, and the bots would. Listen, if they get one bot that's a con combiner that's not a bot combiner, and I think I'm trying to think of the bot now actually. What's the opposite of Trax? I'm trying to think of all the Trax. So for example, Trax is not a combiner bot for the bots, but obviously the counterpart for the cons is. So if they get that for the cons, then fine, they can use that. There'll be plenty of bots that we get that they can't as well. And if they can separate them, then it's only fair. Cutthroat, thanks. So if they get Cutthroat as part of a combiner and they can use them in a team, we can't use Trax because Trax isn't. I'm fine with that. I would settle for that and have the ability to do that than have the alternative, which means that we don't have it. I would rather settle for that and miss out on certain bots. That's my view. Let me know what you think anyway. Would you accept that? Would you accept the fact that the cons get Cutthroat as part of a combiner bot and have a synergy, but we wouldn't have Trax? Would you accept that? Would you accept the fact that we get Swoop as part of Volcanicus can use him, but they can't use Scourge? As a con, would you accept that? So, there are different things to think about, but this is just a tester for this weekend, so don't be too critical. Just a tester to see how it works, but my feedback would be try and make the groupings make more sense, make them easier to understand, easier to know which ones group together, and I think we're actually on something.